Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to look at all of the traditional cup and core bullets that some people might call them frangible bullets, which I do. And I want to see which ones are the most consistent, not just accuracy, but also consistently perform like they're supposed to on game. Basically, which ones are the best cup and core hunting bullets. Now, this is definitely going to be a departure on what I usually do bullet videos on. Usually I kind of crap on the cup and core bullets. And, you know, some of my favorite bullets are Barnes, Hammer, and the Nosler AccuBond. The big reasons: I mainly shoot Weatherby cartridges. So here is a 257 Weatherby. This is the big 340 Weatherby, and that's a 300 Weatherby. All of these are shooting big, heavy bullets, other than 257, well over 3,000 feet per second. So I kind of stay away from these frangible cup and core bullets. Personally, I don't want the bullets to blow up inside my game, but for a lot of people, that's exactly what they want. So let's talk about what I think is the best bullet, what I think the best frangible bullet is. Let's just talk about the controversial bullets first. Let's start with the Hornady ELD-X. Now, I'm going to be upfront with you and honest with you. I have never taken game with the Hornady ELD-X. As I said, I really only shoot bonded bullets and monolithic bullets at game. So take this with a grain of salt, because I don't have any personal experience with the ELD-X, but I'm going to try to be as fair as possible when I say I've heard amazing things on game about the ELD-X, and then I've heard horror stories about the ELD-X on game. I think realistically, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Why I will not put the ELD-X as one of the best frangible or just normal cup and core high BC bullets is because it seems to be way too inconsistent. So one of the most important things I want to talk about with picking a frangible hunting bullet is it consistently going to do the exact same thing repeatedly on multiple game? I don't think the ELD-X does that. I've heard reports from personal friends that use the ELD-X, and they said it performed way too much like a bonded bullet, where it didn't blow up at all in the game. They wanted it to, but it didn't, and it passed through with a very small exit hole, and they didn't like that. I've also have heard that don't ever hit a shoulder with the ELD-X because it's going to blow up and it's not going to penetrate at all. So I'm leaving it out for the top considerations, mostly due to it doesn't seem to perform consistently. All right, on to the next controversial thing: using match bullets for hunting. Now, I don't care what you tell me, all burger bullets are match bullets, right? Their first focus is accuracy and match ammunition, and they kind of make a bigger tip to say it's a hunting bullet. Now, the problem with the burgers I see, they're also inconsistent. You know, I've seen this. My dad that shot a very nice buck with a 140 grain VLD in a 6.5 PRC. It killed it, so that's good. But as the critics say, it seemed to just pencil through. You know, it didn't really blow up inside, and it left a very small exit wound out of the animal. So small, we didn't even see it when we first came up to the animal. It was after we took the hide off that we saw an exit wound. For me, burger bullets are out because of inconsistency. You hear of people that love it because it just enters 3 or 4 inches and then just completely blows apart, like it's marketed as. But I've seen too often that they pencil through. I had a friend recently that took a cow elk with his 7 Rem mag with a 195 grain burger EOL. Quoting him, the bullet just penciled through the elk, and the elk ran about 100 yards before it died. So not exactly great. The other type, Sierra just launched these new Match King X bullets, which when I've looked at these versus the normal Sierra Match King, they're just a tiny bit bigger of a hollow point. Again, I don't know. They're just not my first choice. So for me, if I'm going to pick a frangible bullet, I definitely want the plastic tip. Let's get to the honorable mentions for really good cup and core bullets. And the Speer Hot-Cor is a really good old school bullet that a lot of times acts like a bonded bullet, but is more accurate than a bonded bullet. So the Hot-Cor, they claim that it's a hot formed core, exceptional core / jacket grip. And I've heard just really good things about these bullets. So what's the issue? Why aren't Speer bullets selling like hotcakes, like, I don't know, the ELD-X or the burger bullets? Well, I guess if you're 50 and older, you would love this type of style of bullet. But for the younger generation, for my generation, who's actually going to shoot a traditional bullet with no boat tail, a really dumpy BC? You know, it's just not a sexy bullet. You can't really market this one really well, like Hornady markets the ELD-X or any of other bullets. The next honorable mention is actually a hybrid bullet. This technically isn't a cup and core bullet, and that's what really sets it apart and why a lot of the older generation say this is the king of hunting bullets. I do think these bullets perform extremely well on game. I've never heard of a person complain about how they perform on game. And basically, why is this a hybrid? Well, it's basically a cup and core up front, but it has that partition band to make sure that the jacket never completely separates from the core. So what that does is give you pretty darn good penetration, but also rapid expansion. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But the problem with the Nosler Partition, it's kind of the same issue with the Speer Hot-Cor bullet. This ain't a sexy bullet whatsoever. And one of the bigger issues, I again have to blame marketing, but again, it's just natural to want to have the tiniest groups. But honestly, you really don't need them to hunt, I would say 400 and in. You don't need a half MOA gun to hunt. You just don't. And the Nosler Partition is just not that accurate of a bullet. 1.5 MOA is kind of typical and maybe even bigger, which again, guys, is completely fine. 200-300 yards, even 400 yards is completely fine. It's not much bragging rights when your gun's shooting this like 2 MOA. All right, here it is. The crowned winner, at least in my opinion, of the best cup and core frangible hunting bullet is the Nosler ballistic tip. So why do I crown this one? Well, you kind of get a mix of everything. You know, this is definitely a little bit higher BC than any Partition or any Speer bullet, minus the impacts. Well, what you get is consistency. That's really the number one reason why I pick this one as the best cup and core bullet. Is you're consistently going to get good groups, right? You're easily going to get much better groups than a Partition. Sure, you know, shooting a burger, you're going to get smaller groups than a Nosler ballistic tip, but it's really not that big of a difference with the ballistic tip. I've seen really tiny groups with ballistic tip bullets. You're getting rapid expansion and devastating shock. So basically, yeah, it's a cup and core bullet. You know, it's very possible that the jacket and the core will separate. And, well, I don't say they're going to guarantee it, but there's going to be quick, clean kills. I don't know. This is just, if you're wanting a bullet that's going to be frangible, a bullet that's going to have devastating expansion and consistency, I really think the Nosler ballistic tip is the way to go. Now, so one more story. The same person that took his elk with the 195 grain Burger EOL, he had some friends and family that were shooting 6.5 Creedmoors with the 140 grain ballistic tip. And he was really sad. I can't believe I'm admitting this or sharing this because you know how much I hate the 6.5 Creedmoor. With the ballistic tip, it dispatched the elk much quicker than that big 195 grain 7mm Rem Mag Burger bullet going 3,000 feet per second. And he says this is the last time he's going to use a Burger bullet, and he's going to switch back to a ballistic tip just because he thinks it's much more consistent and more reliable. I really want to hear from you guys. What do you think is the best cup and core frangible hunting bullet on the market? What has your experiences have been with these bullets? Did I miss a bullet? There's certainly so many to choose from. It's very likely that I missed a gem of a hunting bullet. Let me know in the comments.